Good afternoon, Director Sir. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome Dr. Hardik to this session. Uh, as you all know that today's session or today's FDP is on various learning and teaching online, and what could be the various issues and various challenges we might face. Dr. Hardik is going to help us understand and answer our queries if we have some questions or some queries or some curiosity with respect to that. I have already shared Dr. Hardik's profile with you. Dr. Hardik is Associate Dean at Crown Institute of Management in Sydney, Australia. And he has more than 20 years of experience in, 14 years of experience in teaching and assessing and supervising undergraduate, postgraduate, and PhD students. And Dr. Hardik is a PhD in Strategic Management from Narasimha Monjee Institute, and his MBA in Management. So, Dr. Hardik, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Madam, for kind introduction, and thank you everyone for joining me here today. So I have titled my presentation as Shifting Sands in Higher Education because anyone who is here, who has been in higher education for more than 1.5 or 2 decades would really agree that, currently we are at a time where we are kind of, standing on a beach and a wave has come and wave is going. And suddenly we feel that, oh, what is happening? That kind of a feeling is what currently all the higher education administrators and academic and leaders are facing. So welcome and thanks for your time. I'm going to divide this presentation in 2 parts. I am not going to talk more than 20 minutes because we will see a little later in the presentation that research suggests that 20 minutes is the cardinal limit of what somebody can have the attention on online. So I would cover my presentation for 20 minutes and then I will be open to any questions you have. And I'm sure that we would have constructive discussion there. So I have divided my presentation into broadly 2 parts. So the first part is the 3 layers of challenges which we currently have. So think of it like the 3 circles, the first, the outer circle, then there is a middle circle, and then there is a third circle. So the outer circle I would call the industry challenges. So when I say industry, I'm talking about higher education and higher education as a general, which includes all universities and higher education providers, whether it's a public university or private university. I would look at the challenges which are faced by the industry. Second are the institutional challenges, which are slightly more contextual and pressing, and which we see in the institutions have to deal as we speak because of the coronavirus and sudden push for going online. And the third or the inner circle, as you can say, is where I would be talking about the delivery challenges. So delivery challenges are the challenges which I and you as lecturers and professors face when it comes to dealing with students online, and quite often, whether we like it or not, that's going to be a reality for all of us in the coronavirus times. Then I'm going to look at some of the learnings which I have gathered over the past 8 weeks in terms of moving online. And I'm also going to share the rapid deployment strategy which we used when we suddenly get to know that we have to move online because of the COVID-19 and the restrictions and social distancing issues and all the issues which follows that. So I'm going to share some of our experiences of going online rapidly and what steps did we take to make sure that we go online quickly. So I'll be sharing some of the rapid deployment strategies with you, and then I'll be open to any questions if you have. Now, starting off with industry challenges, as I said, coronavirus has accelerated what has been happening in our industry for a long time. So if a lot of you are as or more experienced than me, so you would really understand that we have been through a lot of changes over the past decade, but the whole coronavirus has pushed us into the top gear in terms of changes. So what are the broad industry challenges? And this particular diagram or a model which you see comes from the Economist Intelligence Unit and Qatar Foundation's very recent research, which was just released last month. So, according to them, there are five key challenges to the higher education as a sector, as an industry. The first is contributing to an increasingly digital economy and society. We are in a world where digital is real, and how will we be able to handle that environment? So that's challenge number one. Challenge number two is to leverage technology to deliver better and more inclusive education. We have always believed, and I still believe, that there is no better way to learn than face to face. But the reality is that, there are competing models, and we have to compete with those models. So how can we leverage technology to deliver better and more inclusive education? The third challenge is to respond to growing demand, but shifting demographics. Now, quite often we say that India is the youngest country in the world, and it is the youngest country in the world. But the reality is that in another 10 years, the whole demography would change. So people who are currently in between 20 to 30 years would be in 30 to 40, and their educational needs would significantly change. Those who are in 30 to 40 would be in 40 to 50, and their educational needs would change. So how do we respond to an ever moving population and their changing demands? The fourth challenge is striking a balance between public and private provision. Probably doesn't bother much to us because we are all private sector employees, but this becomes very important when we are talking from a policy point of view. And the fifth, which is important to a group like Symbiosis, but super important to people like us, is remaining global in an age of nationalism. You know, globally, we have governments which are increasingly becoming nationalist, who are bringing borders back and restricting the visa and restricting the people movement. Then the challenge with us as a higher education provider, especially people who are sitting in Australia and US and UK, who rely significantly on international students, about how will we keep ourselves global in the age of nationalism. So these are five key industry level challenges. Now, let me sort of double click and zoom in to the institutional challenges. So, what are the institutional challenges which we are facing? And this list comes partly from the Economist study as well as partly based on my experience. So, the first challenge is how to minimize the learning deficit. We all know that students have to go back to their homes. They were in a very constrained environments of university, and you really study well in a constrained environment. They have to go back. Now they are in a different environment with very different level of environment and access and opportunity. And in this, there is no doubt that there is a deficit which is happening in learning. So at an institutional level, our first challenge is how do we make sure that we minimize the learning deficit which has happened because of lockdown and because of the post-corona impact. Second is bridging the digital access divide. Now, this is very important. I still remember that I would meet a lot of students on campus in the evening when I'm walking post my dinner, and when I ask them that, oh, why you are still on campus? Why don't you go home, or why don't you go to your hostel rooms? And their responses would be that, oh, the internet access here is much better. Now, if students had better access when they were on campus, which they definitely have, what would be the level of access when now they are spread across the national boundaries under very different set of digital access environments. So we have to really work as an institution to bridge the digital access divide which is now created. The third is keeping students engaged, motivated, and in good mental health. Now, this is the biggest challenge, and I'll talk about the engagement in next part of my presentation at length. But keeping students engaged in a world where they are studying from you, and the next screen they are on a TikTok, or next screen they are on Facebook and on WeChat and WhatsApp or whatever it is, it's demanding, right? The lecturers have to be innovative, and they have to come up with new strategies to make sure that they keep students engaged. Now that's engagement, and we'll talk more about it. But how to keep them motivated? A lot of our learning happens because of the peer level pressures. So, I learn because my colleague is learning. I finish that assignment because my friend has already finished it, or he's doing it, or she's doing it. How do we keep people motivated in an environment where they are all alone and there is hardly any peer pressure? Third is how to keep them in good mental health. Now, this is very important. Remember, currently, the uncertainties are not only impacting mature people like us, but it is having a profound impact on students. Remember, our students, usually MBA students, they would graduate. Now, when they don't know what is going to be the situation of economy, they don't know what is going to happen with their internships, how will they be in good mental health? So, as an institution, we have to also make sure that they stay in good mental health. The next institutional challenge is assuring integrity of testing and learning assessment. Now, this is a $1 million challenge, should I say. It's a $1 million challenge because everyone is everywhere currently. The invigilations are not working. The exam systems are not working. How do we make sure that testing remains relevant and we assess students appropriately? We'll talk about it a little later. The last institutional challenge is how do we mitigate upcoming financial crisis? Now, there is no doubt whether you are in US or in India or Australia like I am, one thing is certain that we are all going to go through difficult and rough financial times. And if we as matured age academics feel that financial uncertainty is looming large on us, think about young 21-year-old, 22-year-old people. They have debts, they have taken bank loans, they have taken variety of debts to pay for the MBA qualification which they are currently pursuing or about to finish, and that they are thrown in this whole uncertain world. Clear? So we as an institution have to also deal with mitigating upcoming financial crisis. All right. Now, moving on to the final layer, which is the delivery challenge. And I'm going to take a bit of liberty and going to go slightly beyond the PowerPoint slides here. So when we are designing the delivery, and I'll talk more about what we did and what are the challenges, engagement is a problem. If any one of you believed that after Facebook and WhatsApp and smartphones, students have not been paying attention in the class, trust me, the problem is 100 times more when you are teaching online, because you are competing for attention exactly with the same platform. So engagement is very, very important. Now, second challenge is participation. Now, attendance and participation are two different things. Researchers say that attendance online is not declining, or in most of the cases, attendance is going up. So it clearly means that because people have access, people have the freedom to log in from anywhere, more and more people are logging into the classroom. So if you are in an environment like Australia where attendances are not mandatory, we have very poor attendance in face-to-face, and we have noticed that in the online environment, the attendances have gone up. But you can't equate attendance with participation. Participation is a different ballgame, and participation has not gone up with online. Participation still remains robustly strong in face-to-face environment. So we as academic have to really think about how do we improve participation in our classes when it comes to online teaching. Now, partly students and their distractions and stuff like that are to blame. Partly, and I'm taking now my associate dean's hat, I'm now no longer talking as a lecturer. I will again be a lecturer in 2 minutes time, but let me talk as an associate dean. The problem of the higher education academics has been that we have always believed that we are a cottage industry. So we are a craft-based industry. What I do. If I'm a lecturer or a professor of human resource management is my unit. I decide the unit outline. I decide the assessments. I deliver it. If I want to be strict, I be strict. If I want to be liberal, I be liberal. No one should dictate what I am doing. So I create my own cottage industry for myself. Now that model has worked. I have been an academic in that model, and I have faced challenges in that model. The reality is that online learning will force us to work with so many diverse people that we will have to break our cottage industry kind of an attitude. Right now, this is nothing negative. I'm saying that I've been a cottage industry member, right? So don't think like that. I've been like you. I've been what you've been. Right. Now, this leads us to the 5-stage model, which you see on the right side of the screen, and I have shared the complete paper with you. It is from my colleague here in Australia, and it's a pretty interesting model. It says that you have to have two levels of activity. One is the e-moderating. So, e-moderation is obviously the online moderation kind of a stuff. And parallel is the technical support. So now as an academic, we have to think that we would not be able to deliver our services alone. We will need to have the technical support. And if we are able to really get the right technical support, only then the online delivery would work really well. Now, it's a fascinating model. It's been cited very well. It's a very recent model, but I would recommend all of you to spend more time on it because I have sent you the full paper. I wouldn't spend more time on this, but it's a 5-stage model. It looks at access and motivation at level 1, online socialization at level 2, information exchange at level 3, knowledge construction at level 4, and development at level 5, right? And in both the cases, you need the e-moderation as well as the technical support. Right? It's well, I use this model with my staff here, and it really works very well. Okay, coming to some of my quick learnings, but before I come to that learning, let me give you some context and let me give you the rapid deployment strategies which we used. So what you see here is on the right side is our pictures of 5th of March. And on the bottom, what you see is one of our O days. We call it orientation days. As you can see, it is totally not socially distanced. And we are not following almost any rules which we are now supposed to follow. So our life was pretty straightforward on 5th of March. And things totally changed on 16th of March, because on 16th of March, Australian government declared that we are preparing to stop. So we were told that you are preparing to stop. You should start preparing to stop. So we were given almost a couple of weeks in which we were supposed to stop. And we had started the classes. So you can imagine if 5th March was an O day, orientation day, and 16th March was when Australian government told us that you have to prepare to stop in 2 weeks' time. We had finished 2 weeks of class. Everything was going well. We were very comfortable with what was happening. But then suddenly we were told that 14 days, move everything online. Okay. And then boom, suddenly, oh my God, what to do? So what I'm listing here are the steps which we followed. First, we started with assessment. We didn't worry about the delivery much. Why? Because we knew that there would be some Zoom or some Google Talk or some version which can handle that. But assessment was a big challenge. So we converted all assessments into online compatible assessments, which included elimination of all end exams where possible and converting it into the alternative assessment structures. We used backward design. In fact, there is a lot of literature on backward design. So I would recommend all of you to go through the backward design literature. It's all about looking at it from other way around. So usually a lecturer will design the content first and assessment later. We went the other way around. We went and first designed the assessment and then modified the content to suit the assessment. Then yes, we had to decide how to deliver. So we went with Zoom with our own logic and things like that. But we wouldn't spend time on that right now. If you have got any questions, we'll talk about it. So we decided on the delivery mode. The central focus was on engagement. Engagement. Clear? What did we do for engagement? I'll come when we talk about it. And then we had a regular feedback. So we had every week feedback on what was the attendance, what was the participation, what was the engagement, what can we do better next week to improve it. And we have been doing that since the day we went online till today. Remember, we are currently in week 10, and Australia has a 12-week semester. So we still have 2 weeks to go in terms of our semester. There was no week which was lost. There was no week which was rescheduled or changed because we were going online. We moved everything online from 1 week after 16th of March, right? Okay, so what worked? And from my personal point of view, based on my learning, what is important? Now, remember, these are based on my personal experiences. This may work everywhere, this may not work everywhere. First of all, lecturing is no longer an option. So the whole idea that we will go in, we will run 29 PowerPoint slides just doesn't work. Here, so we adopted a 20 plus 20 plus 20 rule. So 20 plus 20 plus 20 rule is that 20 minutes lecturer would talk, 20 minutes there will be an activity, and 20 minutes there will be question and answer followed by a break. So if the question answers only last for 10 minutes, then you would have a 10-minute break. If question answer lasts 20 minutes, you adjust the breaks accordingly. So no lecturing at all. Or even if you have to do lecturing should not exceed 20 minutes. And I am mindful that I am about to reach 20, but I will finish it up quickly. Second is exams won't always be possible. Like in our case, we don't think so that the exams would be possible this semester. We really don't know whether that will be possible next semester or not. So we have to really think about innovative, authentic, but accurate assessments, which really assesses people's learning outcome without keeping students in the exam environment. Teaching online doesn't mean learning online. So I'm currently talking doesn't mean that you are really listening to me. Some of you may be doing other tasks, some may be having some other distractions and so on. So we have to be very mindful that I'm teaching online doesn't mean that somebody on the other end is learning online. That may happen later, that may not happen, and so on. And that's the biggest challenge. Platform and standardization are very important. Remember, I never realized that learning management system would be this important. So learning management system as well as teaching platform, both are important. And we use Moodle, like probably you guys also use Moodle, but and standardization is important. Remember, if Swati madam's Moodle page looks incredibly different than my Moodle page, then students get to very different versions of it. And that's where we as lecturers have to work with the technical team to make it standardized and work. Support services are more important than ever. Remember, your IT services, your online library, your data integration people, who were sitting in one corner on a campus are now at the center of the activity, purely because everybody is accessing them more and more. So, if you are doing online, if you have to do online, please make sure that these people are appropriately resourced and strengthened, because they will receive a lot more queries. This is working, this is not working, and so on and so forth. Talking is still important. In fact, there is no better alternative to talk. So you should talk to students. How do we talk? We have virtual phone and text check-ins. So we have a virtual check-in where people can drop in, just like it's an office hour, which we keep, that I'm available from 10 to 11. If you have any help, you stay available. Students sometimes come, sometimes don't come. If they don't come, we phone them. We have given staff private number phones so that they can talk to students if they have to, and their phone numbers are never recorded in the students' phone book. We do text check-ins, we do SMS check-ins and stuff like that. Empathy is important. Remember, I know that we are all great academics and we want students to learn really well. But sometimes you will have to be empathetic. You will have to allow adjustments in what they are doing and what we are doing, and you will have to be slightly flexible with that. And before I conclude, the last part is super important. That please remember that lecture and student wellness is important. And I'm putting lecturer here first because we are at the front end, and I believe that we are as important in coronavirus times as a nurse is or as a doctor is. So we are frontline. Your wellness as a lecturer, students' wellness is important. So make sure that you don't send out an email to anyone over the weekend or on a public holiday. You do not respond to emails after your working hours are done. These are super important things. These are small but very important things. If students want to respond in the night because they are working, let them respond. There is an inclination to respond as soon as you receive an email. Please don't do it. It was all right. I do it, and I always do it, but not during these times when we are increasingly under pressure and we are spending more and more time in front of the screen and computer. So take care of your wellness, take care of students' wellness, and hopefully we will all be very successful in this. All right. So that is more than 20 minutes, unfortunately, but I'm now open to any questions if you have.
Thank you, Dr. Hardik. It was really enlightening. Quite a few points are being covered. So I'll request faculty members to ask questions if they have any.
Sir, good evening, sir. I am Dr.
Good
Hirak Das.
evening. Sir, just give me 1 second. I'm trying to do the. Okay, so now you don't see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Please go on.
Sir, I want your suggestion on how to keep the student engaged and motivated during this online teaching, sir.
Correct. So, well, there are a lot of strategies. The first strategy is that you should stay available and stay connected. So, tell student that I'm here if you need any help, just like you would do in a physical classroom settings. Engagement would drop a bit. So, if the engagement drops a bit, don't feel disheartened. The reality and the data and the research globally says that when students go online abruptly, like what they are doing in a blended environment, the engagements go down. So engagement will go down. But try and make sure that you use multimedia things like videos and engaging things as much as you could, and do the check-ins. I believe that check-ins are very, very important. Talk to students, ask them questions, and ask them questions beyond your content, classroom content, And yeah, that's something which we all have to try and do it. It also depends on student motivation also. And you said that how to keep students motivated. It's a big challenge, but I'm very sure I've been to your campus. Your students are incredibly motivated, and the advantage which you guys have is that they are all master student. So there is a significant um, internal motivation in master students compared to undergraduate students. And we here deal with a large bunch of undergraduate students where motivation is even bigger challenge. So yeah, please do it. So use variety of simulations, use as many new things as you can.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Hello, sir.
Dr.
Yes.
Yes, Jaya. Yeah, Jaya, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good
Sir, I
evening.
want to know how to engage students in asynchronous mode of teaching.
Sorry, I couldn't get your question.
When the students are not face to face with you in a meeting or in a
Mm-hmm.
class, and you are
Mm-hmm.
sending them content and then they are working on it. So, how to engage them?
Yeah. So well, first of all, your instruction has to be video instruction where possible. No written instruction, because when you give very lengthy written instructions, students usually get lost in this. So what we have done is that for every assessment, so imagine in one course, what you call course, we call unit here. So for in one unit, if there are 3 assessments, then lecturer will create 3 videos explaining those assessments. Yeah, so just don't put a bunch of paper on student and tell them that, okay, read this, digest this, and do this activity. Your instruction should be video driven, so that they feel that, no, I'm kind of being taught or assessed by somebody who is in flesh and blood. So create a video, short videos. Doesn't need to be professional. I know that we are all concerned about the quality of the videos and professional videos. If you try and make it as professional as you can, but if you can't make it beyond certain, don't worry about it, but definitely make a video and send it to students. So videos are a great way of engagement. Break the task into small chunks. If the assessment was all about a large report of 2000 words, tell students that now, this 2000 words, let's do it in a weekly basis. So if you are supposed to submit a 2000 word report at the end of week 4, let's do 500 in week 1, let's do 500 in week 2, 500 in week 3, and 500 in week 4. Now that doesn't mean that you have to mark all of them, right? So don't think like I'm trying to tell you to mark everything over over a extended period of time. But if you break the tasks into small chunks, students would feel more motivated. Rather than writing something which is 2000, 3000 words large assessment, why not to give them in small assessments? Divide the mark into the subcategories. So if the whole assessment is worth 35 marks, tell them that first 2 sections are 10 marks and submit it to me. Next 2 sections are another 10 marks and submit it to me. So students feel rewarded at different levels. Now that is very, very important.
Sir, my question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Dr. Vilas Kulkarni.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a visiting faculty to this STEAM Institute, SIMS.
Mm-hmm.
My one question is that how to compete as a visiting faculty, because we are from industry, we are not
Mm-hmm.
from academics, and we are not conversant with the new technology that much, which is related with the academics. So
Correct.
we are having ourselves. I am a senior age person. I am 60 plus, but we are very
Mm-hmm.
interested to learn this new technology and to give whatever enriched knowledge we are having of industry
Mm-hmm.
to our lovely students. Now, how to get the confidence, motivation to ourselves first, so that we will give more motivation to our nice students of the institute. Because when theoretically in the class we are teaching, we are having excellent case studies and knowledge and rich experience. We are sharing that. But now in this corona or in this virtual classes, that was my question: what is the fate of us? We are very interested to give our knowledge, and how to give that. This is my one of the question to you, sir.
Yeah. Well, first thing first, look, your knowledge remains relevant, whatever way you deliver. So, don't feel like that. Your knowledge is valuable. Your knowledge is your currency, and you would continue to do well with that. Now, coming to the question of how to make myself adaptable to the technological environment. I think if you are joining me here on this platform right now, I think you are pretty all right with it, because I took 10 minutes to understand this platform before this class. I had to talk to Swati madam and work out how to make it work. So you are already there. If you have some detailed interest, I would be happy to suggest you some resources which you can quickly learn. Means they are not long courses, but they are short, kind of 2-day, 3-day, 4-day activities which you can do, and which will help you get updated with this. Remember, by going online, we are only changing the medium. The message is not changed. So your message remains absolutely relevant. Medium is changing, yes, but the importance of medium is up to the medium. So don't feel that you can't, you can't compete, or you can't kind of rejig your capabilities. Absolutely, you can do that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Hardik, I have a question.
Mhm.
How do we engage those students who are otherwise available for the sessions, but in between they're not able to connect your synchronous sessions because of network connectivity or other reason? So how
Mhm.
do we fill that gap? Because the student has attended first two sessions, and in between two sessions he or she couldn't attend, and then later on he or she came after those two sessions. So how do
Yeah.
we connect them?
Right. So I'll give you the procedure which we follow here. It's a bit of lengthy process, but it has so far worked. So we use very similar to what you guys are using here. We use Zoom, and we record everything, and the recording is made available to the students, as soon as it's being done. So we put the link on LMS, and students can access it. But at the same time, we also create a 10-minute recap video. So immediately after the session, we create a 10-minute video of what I taught in the whole 2-hour or 3-hour lecture, and I'll do a 10-minute video on that and put it up also. So there will be two resources. If student is time poor, which a lot of students or a lot of international students here are, because they are working to survive and things like that, they can watch a 10-minute video. And if they are really interested in doing more, they can watch the full video. Now, what is important here is the analytics. You need to get the data from your LMS team about which student has spent how much time on which page. Now, Moodle gives you that data very easily. So, you will have to hire probably somebody to crunch the data. If somebody has spent less time or more time, in fact, less time, we are more concerned about less time, then, the lecturer gets notified that this student has not spent even 5 minutes on this week's content. As soon as you have a situation like that, you approach the student that, do you need any help? Do you need any help, or do how can I help you, and things like that. So, try and try and track the behavior of student over LMS. How much time do they spend on which item, which link on your LMS? Get the data of that, and approach the student based on that data. Student may feel a bit agitated for the first time when you approach them like this. That, do you need any help in, say, week 5 content, or say motivations content in organizational behavior chapter 5? Student would be shocked, that, oh, why are you, or how are you so specific about it? But we can be this specific about it purely because we know from our LMS data that student hasn't visited that week's content, and that's why we are concerned about it. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, that's great. I think Professor Sukhatme has a question that he want you to elaborate on 20 plus 20 plus 20 strategy.
Right. So, well, this is I have created this strategy. So 20 plus 20 plus 20 is that you don't talk more than 20 minutes. You have a competent activity which follows your talk, which is incredibly connected to what you talked, and that activity should be worth 20 minutes. Now, a lot of time we use the publisher's material and the activities which publishers provide. Quite often, these activities are great. Okay, so you can just kind of take it and use it. But sometimes you may have to modify it a bit. In a way that removes certain questions to make it fit into 20-minute kind of a activity schedule. So give them that activity which is for 20 minutes. In Zoom, we use breakout rooms. So there is a possibility of creating variety of breakout rooms. So it's a group activity, just like in class we can say that, okay, 5 of you will be in group A and 5 of you will be in group B and things like that. You create the breakout rooms, give them the activity, you go into each of the rooms to check what students are doing, keep on doing that, and then ask any questions, and then make it open house, and then take a break, right? 20 plus 20 plus 5 minutes of question is also good enough. Okay, then take 10 minutes of break, 15 minutes of break, and then again at the top of the hour again start teaching. Yeah, so
Yes.
that is what I call 20 plus 20 plus 20. Now it works, it may work, it may not work, but one thing is certain, that attention span has reduced so significantly that even 20 minutes looks like ages sometimes. So definitely no more than 20 minutes.
Right. Miss Smita has a question.
Yeah,
Hmm.
good afternoon, sir. This is Smita here. I'll just
Yes.
modify my question because what you just said was very relevant to what I was thinking about the breakout rooms. So I wanted
Hmm.
to know what has been your experience with the breakout rooms. My sense, because I've been thinking about it, is that I of course have to do it because that's the way I like to conduct my class. But will it be increasingly losing control of students? Like in a normal class environment, when they are into groups, yes, it gets chaotic sometimes because they cross talk and they talk amongst themselves about other things also. But as a faculty, you're able to control that. In case there is suddenly you want to address something, solve a common problem, you're suddenly able to address everybody, and that problem gets sorted out collectively at that level. So what has been your experience of do's and don'ts about breakout rooms, if you can enlighten me on that?
Yeah, well, good. Thanks. It's a very good question, and I have used breakout rooms for past 6 weeks now, so I can give you first-hand experience. And I'm only used to Zoom breakout rooms. I really don't know what is the equivalent of it in Google and other platforms, but Zoom breakout rooms work perfectly fine. There are two ways you can make a permanent breakout room. So you can assign students in a breakout room, and that breakout room would stay there with that particular Zoom meeting. Or you can make a dynamic breakout rooms each week. Now, breakout rooms work perfectly fine. You can join any breakout room and you can leave any breakout rooms. So what I usually do is that just like in the class, if we have created 4 or 5 groups, we would walk to the group and ask questions, how are you doing, any help, and things like that. And we keep on moving from one group to another to another. Exactly the same way lecturer can join a breakout room and leave the breakout room. And if lecturer wants to communicate something with the whole class, there is a tab which allows you to type and send the conversation to the whole class. So it will go to all different breakout rooms. So my personal suggestion is that breakout rooms have been a savior to us. In Australia, our class time is 3 hours. So 3 hours is a long time, right? And if there was no breakout room, trust me, it would be impossible to survive for all these weeks. So breakout rooms are absolute blessings. They work. In fact, they work exceptionally well. Shy students who usually don't like to speak in front of a large audience group would be very open in a breakout room. At the same time, as soon as you put them in breakout room and you visit the breakout room, you would be able to see who are the students who are there but not there. So there but not there is that they have clicked on the link and then they have disappeared. They look online to us in the class, but they are actually not participating. So the attendance versus participation discussion which I was having. So breakout rooms work perfectly fine.
So if I've correctly understood, is this what you said, that in the breakout room it is possible to know who are the students who participated? Because my understanding of the breakout room is that this is going to be like a group discussion amongst themselves. And unless there's
Not Yeah, look, what I do is that I put up a general case study, okay,
sir.
and then I tell them to discuss in the groups, all right? And so case study remains the same for the whole class,
Okay.
right? And the discussion is in different groups, in the different breakout rooms. So it's not unique activity for each group. It's one activity which the whole class is doing. It's just that everyone is doing it, in different groups.
All right, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
So one more
Professor-
question. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, Mita.
Yeah. So my question is that now, given the change scenario, just like we are going to experience this online teaching for the first time, our students are going to sit across for like 7-8 hours and try to learn online. So is it a good idea to try and get, we give them assignments, every subject gives them assignments stipulated by the university. Is it a good idea to get part of that assignment done in the class? Because I'm not sure, after say 7-8 hours of sitting in front of their computer, will they still get together to complete group assignments? So is it a good idea to plan that way, that in the breakout rooms at least they're able to finish part of it? And I feel that once they get a hang of it, they may get interested in completing it.
No, I completely agree. Completely agree. Get things done from students when they are committedly with you. So I would strongly recommend that you redesign your assessments in a way that a part of it is done in the class. This will also increase the attendance and participation, and this would also reduce the load beyond the classroom. So it definitely, yes, my 100% yes. And when we designed our assessments, we definitely use that, that try and get as many assessment elements done as possible in the class. So it's a very good idea. Please do that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Professor Lalit has a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can ask, or I'll read it. He has written that his question is related to student anxiety and students feeling technologically challenged in the current scenario. And if you have any suggestion with respect to that. So students' anxiety is there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes, sir. Lalit, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Hardik, thanks for the excellent presentation and the FDP. A lot of our students have student anxiety considering the current scenario. And at the same time, there's another question which is related to the fact that a lot of students feel technologically challenged in terms of the usage of LMS and other online platforms. We would like to know what are your tips or any suggestions on this?
Thanks. So I'll handle it two ways. One, the technological anxiety, and second is general anxiety. So let me address the technological anxiety first. So I understand it's a whole new learning curve for everyone, for you, me, for students, everyone. What we do is that we try and keep things as simple as possible. And we try and standardize things as much as possible. So imagine a student is doing 4 courses. One is done by Swati madam, one is done by you, and one is done by me, or say 2 are done by me. What we do is that we make sure that in LMS, assessment instructions are exactly at the same place for all the courses. Course outline, we call it unit outline, is exactly at the same place. We have tried to standardize that every assessment one in every course would be worth a particular percentage. So there is a standardization there, so that student feels the predictability. So student feels that, okay, if in Swati madam's course I have understood that this is where the information is, the assessment one is going to be 20 marks, even in my course it is going to be exactly like the same. Yeah, so we are trying to give students as much predictability as possible. So that clearly means that a lot of LMS development has to be done in collaboration with the technical team. Because otherwise our course outlines are going to be different. Our way of writing assessment instructions are different. Some of us prefer to give a lot of information. Some of us prefer to give very limited information. So, where possible, standardization can make sure that students receive the similar information across the board at an institutional level, and that really helps them reduce the anxiety. When it comes to general anxiety, look, it's true. Like, say, for example, I have always taken an exam. Exams are predictable. I have to go in the class, take the exam and do it and forget it. While in assessment, I have to upload it, and then, the plagiarism could be high, so I have to rework, or my lecturer's comments I have to incorporate. So there is an added element of anxiety which gets associated, because I am moving away from a known patterns of assessment to a slightly unknown pattern of assessment. So that's where our role as a lecturer comes in. And I said empathy is very important. If you think that student is struggling, give her additional time, give her additional resources, give her additional support. I know we are all time poor. We have to publish, we have to do all other kind of stuff. But these are the times when our students need us. Our students are quick learners. Trust me, one semester and second semester, they will not ask these questions. In fact, we have observed from week 4 to week 10, we used to receive 10 times more questions in the first 2 weeks. Once students know what they are supposed to do, they will be, they will be on a clear path. So, it's a bit of extra effort from us, but if we try and put in, I'm sure, I'm sure they would be out of anxiety.
Thanks, Dr. Hardik.
Yeah, thank you. So Professor Sukhatme has a question. He's saying that he's teaching marketing, and he often use storytelling of live companies with respect to concepts. So his question is that will this work in the online mode?
Oh, it absolutely would work. Look, all good teachers are good storytellers. So, your storytelling would absolutely work. The only thing is that the stories will now have to be slightly more compact than what it would be in the class, because in the class, you can see the immediate feedback. So if I'm teaching in the class, and if I see that students are getting disengaged, I can change the gears. But here, I may not be able to change the gears. So, we'll have to keep it short and sharp, but storytelling works and has to work. That's the heart of our business. So please keep doing it.
That's nice. Professor Sani is asking, what is the strength of your class on an average every day?
Yeah, it's a good question. The strength of my class ranges from 7 to 60, but the median class size would be 25. So we rarely have large classes, but we do have. And this semester I'm teaching one class which is 64 students. Yeah.
So I think Sir has a follow-up question. Does this lead to any engagement-related limitations?
Yeah, it does.
Because of
It definitely does. If there were no breakout rooms, my 60 student class would be an absolute disaster. My class would become a fish market. So in a 60 student class, I rely incredibly on breakout rooms. While when it comes to smaller classes, yeah, breakout rooms help me, but they are not the essential thing. But in a class of 60, breakout rooms are everything. In a class of 60, I only talk for 10 to 15 minutes. Then there is an activity. Then everybody gets back in the main class. Then I ask questions. Then there is a break. Second leg starts, another 15 minutes of talking, a detailed lengthy activity which is demanding, which pushes them to ask questions to me as I go from one breakout room to another. And then again everyone gets back to the class, the common class, and then again break, and so on. So yeah, you are right. It the whole design of the class delivery, the design of the delivery would change based on the size of the class.
Thank you. Actually, I have a question in continuation with I had asked before. So when we are sharing recordings to the students, am I audible?
Yes, you are, madam. Go on.
Yeah. So when we are sharing recordings to the students, does this happen that I know that recording is going to come after after an hour or maybe by evening. So I'll not
Yeah.
attend sessions today,
Yeah.
or maybe for next 1 week.
Yeah, it does happen. It does happen. You can't, you really can't stop that. Um, Look, I have to admit that Australia has very different attendance policies than what India has. And I've been here for 6 years, so my mind has totally changed. So I don't think of attendance at all. I I take it as a given that no student will come, because we don't have attendance as a requirement of for anything. We don't even record the attendance. We record the attendance, and student services send the SMSs and stuff like that. But it's not a legal or mandatory requirement. But what you said is important, and I have seen that happening, that students would not attend because they know the recording is coming, and even the short brief of the whole lecture is coming. But well, that is what it is. We have to live with that.
Sir, one question.
Yes,
Yes.
Shall I ask?
yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I'm teaching precisely a subject called law. It is a
Mhm.
business law, labor law, like that subject I am teaching for the students of HR.
Mhm.
When I was teaching physically in the colleges or institutes earlier, this subject is very dry. So I used to see the body language of the student, and accordingly I used to share some practical cases which are happen in the various industry, and as well as when I was working as a general manager HRD personnel, how I practically handled that case. So the
Yeah.
lecture was seeing the body language. I was making the lecture very interesting, and believe me, the students who are those not ready to attend, they were totally available. Not a one single student was absent, and they were giving excellent feedback to the management. Now my problem is there now, as this new technology, I have to teach this subject being a very dry subject, and plus this is having these case studies or this thing, how I can be able to make my lecture interesting so that student will be able to understand it, and my feedback also will be positive.
Yeah, well, very good question. And yours is a very fascinating subject to teach online. I'm currently before this workshop. I had a meeting with my lecturer of law, who always had an open book exam, and we were discussing about how to handle that situation. Anyway, so law is a fascinating subject in itself. Um, and one is the general suggestion before I come specifically to law. If you are giving a large case study, which I have seen that in India, usually people give very large case studies which are worth 10 pages, 15 pages. In Australia, it is a big no-no. We don't give very large case studies. If there is a large case study, we always make sure that there is a complementary video which you record and put that along with the case study, because asking a student to read a 20-page case study is a lot of burden here. So my recommendation to you would be that use smaller cases. In the online delivery, smaller cases work fantastically well. If you are going to use large case studies, divide it in the groups beforehand. So imagine that if there are 5 groups in the class, if there are 5 people in group, you say that, okay, person A will read first 2 sections, person B will read 3, 4 sections, 4, 5. We'll have to be slightly like a school teacher here. And why we will have to be like a school teacher here? Because we really don't get the instant feedback, like the sir just said. We don't get the instant feedback. So we'll have to be slightly more directive in terms of what we want them to do. So my suggestion would be use small cases, use discussion as much as possible, avoid lecturing, because lecturing just would not work. So break the class put them into the breakout rooms, give them small case studies, and try with that. I know law is one of the most challenging, if not the challenging unit to handle in online. Accounting units are even more challenging than law to handle. But try this and it would work. If you are giving a larger case study, give your video attachment to the case study, so that students can watch your video, understand the context, understand what you want them to do, so that they are clear with it. Because we know that we have given all the instructions, still students want us to explain that. So kind of using these kind of combinations, trust me, I don't have an answer to that question which is proven, but we are doing currently exactly that. We have commercial law and business law running this semester, and they are definitely challenging units in terms of engagement.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I think Professor Lalit has one more question. So you can ask.
Thank you, Dr. Sati. Dr. Hardik, the current methodology of teaching, is it similar to the flipped classroom methodology, which was at the start when we spoke about e-learning? Or is this the current methodology which we are discussing, a fine-tuned version of what we do the traditional way, but with electronic tools?
I wouldn't call this a flipped classroom. Flipped classroom puts the onus of learning on the learner. So in a flipped classroom, you would want students to have gone through the material beforehand and then lead the learning from there. So I think people who are teaching online, almost all universities, when they are currently talking about online, I think they are not talking about the flipped classroom. It's a modified version of a lecturer driven or an instructor driven teaching methodology. So it's not flipped classroom from my personal point of view, because flipped classroom is all about learner maturity and driving learning from the learner. We are not talking about this. This is a traditional learning done in a very different access environment and methodological environment.
Thanks, Dr.
Yeah, thank you. Ms. Smita has a question, I think.
Yes. Sir, I have one more question here. Now, last few days we've been discussing about the challenges in online teaching and learning. However, it's also a good idea to play by the strengths, if there are any. So if you could highlight a couple of strengths of teaching online, that way maybe we can take advantage of those strengths and, plan our subjects accordingly.
Strength of what? Strength of this method of teaching?
Yes, method. Yes, so on online teaching, strength of online teaching. Good.
No. Look, again, contexts are very different. But in Australia, as I told you, we don't have attendance requirements. So we had incredibly poor attendance. So lecturers will go into a class of 60. I'm talking face to face, and they will have 20 students, and they will come out disheartened. They would have prepared for 2 hours for that great case study, for that great activity, and then they just get 1/3 of the student. So the number one benefit is that it provides incredible width of access. So people can access the content, people can join from anywhere, and there is a complete level playing field in terms of the access. Second strength is that you should play based on student strength. So social media is student strength. Uh, inter-student communication is student strength. So I think the best way to make most of this is to really play through student strength. Try and add social media. Try and add a post and comment. And if the comment has what it takes, give them marks for the comments. So try and play innovatively, which you now can, because it's all online. The barriers are gone. The traditional teaching and learning quality control people who were standing on your head. I don't know whether they stand on your head at your institute or not, but at our institute they're always standing on our head, that this is not accepted, this is not accepted. There is incredible flexibility there. So try and play with the strength of it. If you play with the strength of the students, which is social media access and things like that, they would thoroughly enjoy it. So 3 key things. One, strength. The first strength is the access, which everyone has. Second, trust me, students are way more comfortable with online learning than what we think they are comfortable with. They are, they question that why am I paying so much of money to do something which is online than what I'm doing face-to-face, and that I discussed about the institutional challenge. But, as a lecturer, the reality is that, they have an advantage. They have a methodological advantage, technological advantage over us. So if you play with that, they would be super happy about it.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. So there is one question from Mr. Bhadrayu Vachhrajani. I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name. He says, how long this online teaching will take to establish fully in India?
Well, look, these shocks have speeded up the adoption. So, the open universities, if you look at the open universities, UK, if you look at Coursera, edX, they have been offering online things for almost now 7-8 years. MIT OpenCourseWare, I'm sure a lot of you would be using the references and contents from there. So they've been online for a lot of time, but coronavirus has pushed the whole world to really think about really adopting it to a lot of extent. So my guess is that if the internet access is good, online adoption in India can be as good as anywhere else in the world, because we know that data in India is cheap. A lot of people have smartphones. If we really create the right content at the right price, India could be actually adopting online learning way faster than what Australia or UK or USA would do.
That's great. Thank you. Dr. Naval has a question. He's saying that how do we maintain uniformity across all divisions? Because we have 5 divisions and one faculty teaches 5 divisions. So, and how feasible it is to maintain that uniformity?
Good question. We also have a very similar situation. Now, I don't know, what do you mean by division? We have sections. We call it sections. I think you guys also probably mean the same sections, isn't it? So a one course has, say, 400 students, and then they are divided in certain numbers, and the same lecturer teaches all of them. Is that what you mean by divisions?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, well, we have the Moodle gives you an access that you can create groups. So your Moodle administrator can create divisional groups. So you as a lecturer can post things which can be accessed by all members of the class, that is all 5 divisions, and you can put specific content which can only be accessed by certain divisions. Now, we use this very often. Purely because there are certain divisions where you have students who are performing lower than the average. So lecturer may have to put more content, will have to provide more access, more videos, more support in one division and not in all the divisions. So Moodle gives you that kind of a flexibility to play with. Yes, it's a bit of more work to do for a lecturer, but as I told you, we hardly have any other choice these days.
Swati ma'am, can I add to this?
Yes, sir.
So Professor Naval here.
Yes.
Just adding to that, so would you recommend uniformity, or would it be recommended that, in terms of the teaching per se and the pedagogy that's being used, do you maintain uniformity or do you keep it diverse for divisions or sections?
So there are two elements. One is the uniformity. So uniformity is important, and uniformity has to be maintained. But then as the course progresses, the lecturer would realize, or lecturer would appreciate that this particular division requires more assistance. Then that kind of a division gets some extra resources. But uniformity is super important. Uniformity of assessment, uniformity of information access, uniformity of words, number of words of assessment. These are all non-negotiable. So, if you have somebody who gives 30 marks for 3,000 word project and somebody gives 20 marks for a 3,000 word project, it cannot be accepted, purely because student would immediately notice that I'm getting two variation of marks from the same amount of effort which I'm putting in. So my recommendation to you would be that create a volume of learning, volume of assessment, and then equally divide it across all the units or across all the courses, and maintain the uniformity as a base. But if certain divisions require more, we are not stubborn. We are flexible.
So I'm sorry, I'm just elaborating on this one. But so assessments, fine. Yes, uniformity, in fact, ought to be maintained when it comes to assessments. But I'm talking about, let's say, for example, I'm taking a session on introduction to organizational behavior, and I'm citing a particular illustration or example related to organizational behavior implications. Then should that illustration be uniform across the 5 sections, or is it okay if it varies? That's
No, it should be uniform.
okay. Thank you.
It should be uniform, but imagine that in 2 weeks' time you realize that the illustrations which you have taken are little bit too difficult for division D, right? Or students in division D take more time to comprehend the illustration which a division A student would comprehend in 5 minutes. Then you will have to make slight additions and modifications to that particular division.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Naval sir. So we have a question from Professor Sukhatme. She teaches cyber law and IPR. She's asking, could you share your experience with identifying, elaborating, and sometimes mentoring students without any eye contact and no clue of body language or?
Well, very good point. We have a large team of staff who does mentoring with students. First of all, Zoom and Skype or Google Hangout does suffice a bit to an extent the missing of the physical contact. So I would suggest that where possible, you should have a Zoom meeting or a Skype chat or Zoom or whatever face-to-face platform you can use. So where possible, use that. Where it is not always possible, you can use phone and text. But you definitely, your mentorship approach has to change, and you would have limited feeds from people's body language, and we have to accept that and modify the approach. But it hasn't been a massive problem to us. We haven't faced a massive problem. In fact, we have, just like attendance, we have seen a spike in people who take mentorship because previously they had to come to campus to get the mentorship. Now, they can just click a link and the mentor would be available on the other hand, and they can very easily chat. So we have noticed that there is a spike in the uptake of the mentorship also.
That's great to know. Professor Malasane has a question. Ma'am, can you ask, or you want me to read? Okay, I'll read it. So, ma'am is saying a teacher who is great in a physical classroom may not become great with online delivery overnight. So, students' feedback would be based more on the teacher's ability to manipulate technology to his benefits, isn't it?
Um, isn't it? So it's a question, I guess.
It's a
The
question.
the answer is yes and no. Look, students don't judge you based on whether you have look, first thing first, if you create the content and if there is a good coordination between your LMS team and the lecturer, then a lot of and then there are organizational supports to it. Then the content and the technical elements of the how an LMS launch, that's what the word which we use, so LMS homepage and things like that look, can be handled very easily by technical people. So that's not a big issue. And students don't judge you based on your technical capability. It's ultimately, look, students go there, as I told you, message is still important. These are all tools. Now, yes, if you are great at it, well, it may have 5-7% impact, but ultimately the student feedback would be based on the knowledge which you have provided. Yes, there will be an additional element of support. So when everyone is online, students value support more than they value when things are face to face. So yes, in terms of support, there will be an additional step which people will have to take. So I may not have provided that support in face to face, but I'll have to provide that support online. But fundamentally, we are all teachers. We all like to support students. So I personally don't feel it as a problem. At our institute, we do not keep any question in student evaluation which talk about lecturers' technical capability. I have just designed and collected 400 feedbacks this week. There is no question. There are questions on whether they like the platform or not, whether they like the Zoom or not, but there is no question which talks about did the lecturer handle the technical aspects well? No, those questions were never there.
Okay, that's a great answer. I
That's
think,
very heartening to know.
yes, ma'am. And I think to a certain extent, Dr. Archana's question is also answered over here. So we'll take one question from Smita, ma'am. Yeah, you have a question, I think.
Yeah, so that's my final question, at least for sir. Sir, now that you have this experience of teaching online, offline both, and given the fact that attendance is not a compulsion for your students, so maybe asking this question from students' perspective may not be relevant. So, based on your understanding of, I mean, based on your experience and your colleagues' experience, do you want your students back in a physical classroom? Do you want them to come back? We're very happy that the whole thing is online. So that gives a clear idea of, the overall picture. What do people really think? That really it's been a wonderful experience of having them online, or that no, 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 no. I wish they could come back to the classroom. What is it like?
Yeah, well, look, personally, I believe that I wish they come back to the classroom. Uh, Purely the reason is that not that online is inferior. Now, I used to believe, okay, I used to believe before a couple of years that online is inferior. Now, in past 2 years, I have changed my opinion. Online is not inferior, but if we have to go online, it needs to be positioned very differently. Now, when we gave admissions to the students a year ago or 2 years ago, we promised a face-to-face learning, right? So we sold something else, and we can't, it can't be that box is being opened and something else comes out. So if we would have sold online, which has its own pricing problems, so you can't get more money for online because there is no infrastructure being used, there is no physical library being used, so student would ask for a bargain. So if we would have solved the program as an online, I would have had no problem with it. I do not want them to be on campus, but I want my students to be on campus because we sold them a face-to-face program.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
thanks.
correct. Yeah. Dr. Archana has a question.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, very good afternoon, sir. Thanks for such a lovely session. I'm a little tense because this is going to be my first teaching in this institution, first teaching semester. So, is there a difference in the impact a teacher can, actually have in the live teaching and online teaching? And what would be the difference between the two if I have to measure the impact? Say, for example, if a faculty has a feedback of 9 on 10 when he goes to the class and teaches live, so is it so that the difference is going to be a 7 or 8 when he goes online, or there is no measurable differential impact on the same?
I really don't have too much of data to share with you on this impact. But what I can tell you is that and this is based on my personal opinion, the impact wouldn't be significant. Impact wouldn't be significant because students still come to you, whether they come physically or online, to get the knowledge which you have, to get the engagement which you can engage, whether it is face to, even, we all agree that even face to face is about engagement, right? So, we know that whether it is online or face to face, now you can't go on for a lecturing for 45 minutes or 50 minutes. It doesn't work in 2020. It doesn't work in any environment. So I don't see that there will be a massive change in the impact. Your approach will have to change, and if you change your approach well, then probably, who knows, a lecturer who had 7 or 8 out of 10 now probably get 9 or 10 out of 10 because they use the right approach. So I don't think so that you should enter the classroom or a Zoom session with that kind of a mindset. uh, but yeah, if you kind of retool yourself a bit and use the right approach, who knows, you could be 9 out of 10, or you were 9 out of 10 in face to face. Now you are 9 out of 10 even in online. That's a great achievement.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Uh, you have answered quite a lot of questions, and I'm sure a lot of doubts have been got cleared. Any other question or any comments, Director Sir, if you have?
Yeah, I just want to know now 2, 3 things. One is, you see, like it was asked earlier also, would it be better to, give them pre-reading material or viewing material and then conduct the sessions? And what is the response of students to that? That is one. And second is, how easy or difficult is it to conduct a case study session in class? Uh, because you need participation of the students. So online, is it
Mhm.
easy, comfortable, both for the faculty and the students? How is it? These 2 questions.
Yeah, so answering your first question first, you have to provide content online in advance. We usually provide at least, I'm using the word at least, 3 weeks worth of content in advance. If the 3 weeks worth of content is not available in advance, from our teaching and learning point of view, it's not a good quality course. So you have to put content online for sure. So 2-3 weeks material you have to put in advance. And you should direct students to read it beforehand for sure. Answering your second question about case study, means I teach strategic management and entrepreneurship. So exactly, probably like you, I use a lot of case studies. Um, Case studies can be done. Case studies can be done exactly like they could be done in a face-to-face environment. But my personal suggestion is that the length of the case will have to change, because it's difficult to keep people's attention for a prolonged period of time. So do not do not give very lengthy cases. As I said, give short, precise cases where they can quickly read through, quickly discuss, and quickly share their opinion with you as well as the class. But case studies can be done for sure, but lengthy cases can be done, I'm not saying, but the attention is lost in that.
Okay, one more. May not be you because of the subjects that you teach, but in your discussion with faculty who are teaching subjects, which are computer based, like, programming, like R or maybe Python, or even statistics or advanced Excel, where students have to be taught, they are doing it practically while you are teaching. Now in a classroom or in a computer room, you can go to each individual, see what they are doing, what the problem they are facing, and guide them and tell them. Now, what has been the feedback from other faculty who are teaching this subject on teaching it online? Are they able to teach it, or did they have to modify their teaching, or it was not successful at all?
Yeah, very good question. In fact, they have to modify. There is no doubt that it has to be modified. So say, for example, in accounting, and I'll come to IT a little later because we have a lot of IT units also. For accounting, say, for example, we teach students a software called MyOb, right? It's a kind of a payment software which it's an Australian company, so that your taxes go straight to the government and stuff like that. So think like any software, MyOb. Now we have MyOb installed in our computer lab, and students, when they are about to study MyOb, they go to the computer lab and they use it. So that was not possible. So we negotiated with MyOb, and we got a student license for MyOb at a subsidized rate, and we gave individual licenses to students to download the MyOb. Lecturer had to change his delivery. We created workshop tutorial kind of a model. So there was a tutorial model. So, the number of groups were reduced from 60 to 10. And we will try and simulate a lab kind of an environment where student would screen share, just like I am currently. I just shared my screen before some time with you. Student would share the screen and ask any particular questions which the student has. Now that has worked for this semester. We are not going to continue with that approach. We expect that social distancing rules we will try and adhere the social distancing rules and bring students back to laboratory, computer lab, for the effective execution of those kind of units.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Hardik. It was really great. Quite a lot of
Thank
doubts
you.
have been answered.